Hola, hola, ¿cómo estás, Ana?
Hola
Bonito,
Iris,
¿cómo has estado?
aquí es otro lunes, empezando la semana fuerte, con mucho ánimo,
Qué bueno,
con
gracias a
mi
Dios. Eso es lo único.
cafecito,
Ah, qué rico, cafecito hoy. Yo
cafecito,
tengo,
está
ya sabes,
fresquecito.
el energy drink, ya saben, como siempre. A ver, dame a dar la vuelta. Ya me acabé la caja, ahora sí tengo que comprar una caja nueva.
Muy
Ay,
bien,
no,
muy bien.
ya sé. Oye, qué
Mientras
bonito.
tengamos energías,
Andamos todas de mucho color, de mucha
¿verdad
energía,
que
mucha,
sí?
¿verdad? Mucha buena vibra. Qué bueno, me da mucho gusto. ¿Cómo estuvo tu fin de semana? ¿Todo bien?
Sí, muy padre también el fin de semana. Vinieron unos tíos a ver a mi mamá y ahí estaba yo, entonces tuve una chance de visitar con mis tíos, que es raro que
La
los vea y especialmente ahorita menos por lo de COVID. Pero gracias a
familia.
Dios muy bien. Tiempo con mi perro, con mis gatos, con mi esposo. Cumplí 5 años de casada con mi esposo.
¡Ay, muchas felicidades! ¡Qué
Gracias.
emoción!
Tenemos
Y
10
muchos-
juntos, decimos viviendo en pecado, pero 5 ya casados.
qué
So,
bueno, eso es lo que cuenta, que viva el amor. Eso es lo
así
más
es, así.
importante. Bueno, today we're going to be talking about how to buy a house if you live out of state. We had a lot of questions from a lot of different buyers, usually about the lending process. I mean, they look at the Rio Grande Valley as a very good area to invest and or probably they love the weather as well. I mean, they usually look for a warmer tropical weather. And we have a lot of interest of a lot of clients, right, from all over the place, California, Vegas, Arizona. I mean, wanting to know, how do I buy a home here? Okay, so then I want to talk about the real estate angle, but Anna is going to be talking today about what it is that is required, because usually all of the questions that we get, okay, is usually about the money. It's usually about the lending process, right? So Anna, what would you recommend for our out-of-state buyers interested in investing and buying a home here? What would you say are the first steps to be able to do
So,
that?
so we recently had two people that inquire, one from Wyoming that moved here because of work with SpaceX.
Ah, yes.
So in his case, he was relocating to the valley because of work. So usually that's my first question. What's
Yes.
your motivation to buy here? Are you relocating because of work? Do you plan to buy a vacation home so that you can come and visit? Or do you plan to buy an investment home right now since the prices are still very affordable and maybe in a few years move down or when you retire, use that as your primary? So that's the first question. What's your motivation to buy? In the case of the guy that was moving down because of SpaceX, he was coming down because of work. So the
Exactly.
way that we pre-approved him was with an offer letter from his job, a contract saying that he has been hired, in this case as a technician, and that he was going to start on this day, and this is a position, and this is the amount of pay that he was going to get. So then I use that future income that he's supposed to be getting to qualify him for the loan. I have a motive why he's buying here. Yes, everything that he has, everything that he provided has the Wyoming address, but he's moving down here because of work.
Okay.
Then
Then
we
the
had
first
another
one
kid.
will be work, right? The first one will be work. So you need to secure a job in the area, right? That will be the
Or, well,
or
there's a lot of people too that are working from home. More and more companies are allowing their employees to work from home.
yes.
So if you work for a company, let's say in Austin, but the company is allowing you to work from home, as long as you have evidence, something in writing from your employer saying you can work from anywhere, as long as you have internet connection, then you can buy here in McAllen and work in Austin. Then that's fine. We can also do that.
Okay, did you hear that, friends? So then you don't have to relocate. Well, no, you will be relocating to the area, but you will continue being in the same type of job, right? I mean, you're gonna, because you work online, you work from home. So then your job is in, let's say, Vegas, an example, right? But you live here. So as long as your employer allows it, that will
Correct.
be the second option. The first option is if you get a letter because you're relocating for work. I mean, the example would be our client in SpaceX. Okay, so
Correct.
those are the two first. And then,
Yes.
Anna, what about those clients that call us and tell us, I'm looking at it as an investment. Then they don't have to come and live here, do they?
No, so then we had over the weekend a customer from Las Vegas. He
Mhm.
lives over there. He works over there. His job demands that that he works in person over there. So then, in that case, he will buy a property as an investment home. If it's a single resident, the down payment is 15% minimum. So
Mhm.
basically, we're gonna qualify him with a rent in Las Vegas or a mortgage in Las Vegas, his income from Las Vegas, and then a house here in McAllen.
Okay.
Since it's gonna be an investment property, he thinks that the houses are very affordable. He thinks they're a mansion for the price,
I know.
so he wants to rent it. So in that case, we're using his salary from his job in Las Vegas and the potential rent from the new house as income. Even
Nice.
though he doesn't have the house rented, even though he may rent it in the future, we can use the anticipated rent as extra income since it's an investment property.
Okay, so we're talking about two different things here, okay? I mean, if you're from out of state, one is because you want to come and live here, right? You want to come live here because of the weather, because of work, or you can also just invest in the area and continue living where you live, your primary residence is, let's say Las Vegas, okay? And you can have the property here as an investment property, which
Mhm.
in that case, that will be the same process for anyone living right in Texas and wanting to get an investment property. Correct?
Correct, it's the same. Yeah.
It will be the
So
same process.
the only issue that I get sometimes is when somebody calls and says, I live in Florida, I work in Florida, I have to work physically in Florida, but I want to buy a house in Texas because I'm planning to move down to Texas in the summer, for example, and I want to go live over there. My wife's family is from McAllen, so we want to move over there. And
Mhm.
then in that case, I tell them, okay, so then what income are we going to be using? And they're like, well, my income from Florida. So then and they tell them, well, in that case, if you're going to be working over there, but the house is over here, you need to buy it as a vacation home or an investment property. You cannot buy it as a primary because you're not going to occupy it right away. And then they're like, well, as soon as I move to Texas, I'm going to change jobs. So I'm like, well, we don't even know what job you're going to have. So we basically have to wait. You would have to come, move down to Texas, get a job, and then buy the house because we don't know what income you're going to be using at that point.
I know, I know. We've had some of those before, and they work, right? I
Mhm.
mean, it's because they have good income,
Mhm.
but they have to secure a job before closing, correct?
Yes. Yeah. So another thing I tell them is, for example, when in the case when they have family here, sometimes I tell them, can your wife already move down? If the wife has credit and she can be on the loan, I'm like, can your wife already move down with the kids? Can they be already enrolled in a local school here in Edinburgh, for example? So you're gonna stay in Florida for the next couple of months or the year, whatever, and your wife is gonna be here. So basically, he's kind of co-signing for the wife. The
I
wife, it will be here. I would recommend that she has her driver license in Texas, that the children are enrolled in school, so that they don't consider it fraud. Basically, we have to show that they're really gonna use that house as a primary residence, and he's gonna be coming down and going as much as he can, maybe once a month, twice a month, he's gonna fly down and be here with his wife and children, but then he will go back and work in Texas.
okay.
So sometimes we have options, it just depends.
It just depends. So, Anita, this is very good information. I'm just going to recap, I mean, for our viewers. So, we're talking about how to buy a house in Texas when you're from out of state, any state, right? That you just want to come over because you have family here. So, there's three different options, right? One will be because you're locating for work, the other one will be as an investment property. And the other one will be as a, what was the third one, Anna?
I
Remind.
would say that you're moving for work, but your work is somewhere else in another state, but you can work remotely.
Exactly. If your company allows you to live, let's say in Texas, and continue working in Arizona, then you can do it. And the only thing you're gonna require is gonna be a letter, right, from your employer saying that you can live in Texas, right? You don't have to live over there because you work from the computer, right,
Correct.
remotely. So then those are the three ways that you can do this. Now, Anita, I keep having all of these calls, about interest rates, down payment, closing costs. Now, what have you seen this week? I know it's kind of close, right? It's only been a week, but have you seen any changes? I mean, on interest rates, because that's what people want to know, right? I mean,
Yes.
that,
Interest rates are going up. I read two articles last week. One was from the Federal Reserve saying that they anticipate the interest rate to increase three times this year,
Mhm.
around 0.25% every increment. And
Okay.
then Bank of America put another notice saying that they anticipate eight hikes this year, so eight times. So,
In
so I
serio?
don't know. So I guess between three and eight,
Mhm.
but it's already going up. It's a shock to customers when we quote the rates. We're seeing rates, especially like in the 30s, 30-year loan, in the high threes to the low fours already.
Mhm.
I just quoted a customer and an investment property, and he was in the middle fours. Now, I always compare my rates online to bankrate.com, and
Mhm.
my rates are cheaper than what it's there. So it is that. And bank rate, you put you're purchasing, what your credit score is, what amount you're buying, was the down payment, and then it gives you rate. So it's a good estimate, and it is. I compare myself, and I'm like, I guess these rates are true rates that we're getting.
It's
Yes,
kind of changing a little bit. But I
they
mean,
are
it's
changing a
still
little bit.
affordable. I mean, how we've been in the past, the interest rates are not as high
Mhm.
because we used to be or we could have been. Remember, how was it? what is it, 75?
I bought a house in 2007, and I paid 5.875 at that time. So it
Mm-hmm.
was right before the market crash. The rates are the highest we've seen in the last 2 years, because I also looked at a chart of all the interest rate that we've seen. So we're basically pre-pandemic times
Mm-hmm.
right now.
Okay, but it's still affordable. I mean, we still in the real estate, I mean, side of it, right? Anita's talking about the lending side. I mean, we still see a lot of people, I mean, in the market, right? Buying a property, investing, selling. So it's still happening, right? Constantly. And of course, we're gonna see a lot more increase now with the income tax,
Yes.
right? Now once they finish with the process.
I would say buying would be better than renting. You're gonna build equity. You're gonna make your money back because the houses continue to appraise higher. They're not anticipated to decrease. They're continue to appreciate higher than the average that
Mhm.
we've seen in the past. So it's still a good thing. I would say if you're really serious about buying, start the process as soon as possible, because we had a customer that wanted to buy a house in Mission, and she started looking. It's been about a year.
Wow.
She was looking at she wanted her budget to be around 210.
Uh,
She found a house for 219, I believe, and she didn't pull the trigger. Even though the house met all her criteria, she said that she was not sure. She wanted to keep looking, and so she didn't buy it. So now that house right now, it's worth around 260.
yes, because I mean everything. I mean, she should have.
She
She
should
should
have, but I mean, you learn. I know we tell people, and probably people think, they're salespeople, they want me to buy or this, but in reality, like, we know the market. I have coworkers that are looking to buy or thinking about buying, and I basically tell them, if you're serious and you really like the house, consider offering a little bit more than what their seller's asking.
yes.
Don't ask for concessions. And these are people that I care about, I love, and I'm giving them the same advice. If you really want the house, don't lowball people. Don't think you're gonna get a big deal, like a big offer or discount. It's just not happening right now. And I'm telling them, buy as soon as you can, just in case the rates keep going up. You're good to go. So
That's the strategy to follow is that we're still in a seller's market, everybody. I mean, so then we need to, I mean, continue, I mean, writing clean offers. And also don't get too I will say too stuck on the situation about I don't like the colors, I don't like the light fixtures. That's no big deal. I don't like the carpets, for example. I mean, really, all of that is minimum for what I mean, the investment that you're getting once you purchase this property. So I will say move forward. So Anita, anything happening this week? I mean, it could be a story with a client or anything new besides the out of
Anything
state,
new?
besides out of the
Anything?
state buyers. So then let me talk to
Yes.
you a bit about the real estate side, right? So when someone calls us about out of state, right, and tell us, okay, I'm looking for a house, I want to invest. So the first thing, I mean, it's the same buying process, right? So the first thing that they need to know is that they cannot use a lender if it doesn't have a Texas license. I mean, we think that they should know, but of course, no. I mean, we're
Mhm.
happy to give you that information. So the first thing we'll let you know is, do you have a lender that is licensed in Texas if you're planning on buying in Texas? So the first answer I get is, why do I have to? I'm planning to use my lender. I mean, from I don't know, Wyoming or whatever. So it doesn't work like that. I mean, remember, they have to have a license in Texas. That's one. And then we follow basically the same process as buying a property. So we will ask you, so what are you looking for? So then you tell us, right? I mean, 4 bedrooms, 3 bath. I mean, their houses are beautiful. Da, da, da. Okay. And then we're going to ask you about the pricing. So that's where things stop. I mean, I will say that's where they stop. We can always send you information. We can always send you everything that we have active in the market. The only thing is that you might be looking into a homes that might not be at your range, right?
Correct.
And then let's say, for example, I mean, our friend from Vegas, right? I mean, he's looking at all of these homes that they're beautiful, but they might not be his range, right? He may be higher or he may be lower. So then you need to look into that as well, right? I mean, and remember, right now it is the moment to buy the property that you want or sell if this is what you want to do, right? Sell and upgrade. You can always do that. I mean, houses more or less are getting into contract between 5 to 7 days. That's what is more or less taking. Okay, so then yes, you continue or you have to continue being active, not active, aggressive in the market. Exactly what
Mhm.
you're telling your friends, right? I mean, if you're gonna be in the market, you need to be ready to pay a little bit more. Hopefully, you don't have competition, right? I've
Correct.
noticed too, Anna, that right now during these times, I mean, the offers that we have presented, uh, in the past, right? You need to call and say, do you have any offers, right? Because you need to strategize. So really what we do, I mean, for our friends watching, me as a real estate broker, we have to strategize what is going to be, how we're going to present this offer to the seller and what are the best terms in order for you to win it, right? So
Mhm.
then one of the things that we do is call them and ask, hey, do you have any offers? If they say yes, then we need to come out with with an aggressive strategy. If they say no, which that's what I wanted to tell you, these days, from January to now, the houses that we've been, presenting offers, not all of them have other offers.
And what price range?
Well, the price range is a little high. It could also
Mhm.
be for that, right? Because you're talking about in the
There's
400,
competition.
in the 500s, in the 300s. I'm assuming that if it is lower, right, to 10 to 20, you're gonna see a lot more people competing for the same house because there's more
Probably.
people, I mean, qualifying for
Approved for that amount.
the
Mhm.
amount, right?
Probably. That may be a reason.
It may be also the reason. So then that's
Mhm.
what we've noticed, right? So then the competition is not as high, obviously, in a higher price range.
Mhm.
But you still have a lot of opportunity, right, in order to be able to get this home.
Yeah. I do have some good news.
Listen.
Um, for self-employed borrowers, after COVID, all FHA, well, not FHA, but Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac imposed that we had to analyze their bank statements. So usually we analyze their tax returns and figure out what they're reporting because they're self-employed. But after COVID, we also had to analyze their bank statements and make sure that they were depositing money according to how the business should operate and what the expenses like that it should match the
Mhm,
tax returns. And we
mhm,
had never had to do that. And so sometimes it was difficult, especially clients that have a business but they mingle their business with their personal, and so it's not a very clear as to what
yes,
was business and what's personal. So that was removed last week. No,
Oh my God,
we no longer have to analyze the bank statements.
no more bank analysis. Let me
So
write
so,
it.
so that's great for me, at least as a loan officer. I don't have to go at that extra step and making sure that they have the deposits. As long as they're reporting income on the tax returns, that's what we're gonna be using.
Actually, it's very good news for everybody because I mean, sometimes we're not very organized with our finances, so
Mhm.
then that's not gonna affect you anymore. I mean, those are great news. Let me just put
That
great
is
and
great. It affects our self-employed borrowers, which we have a lot. We're we
self-employed.
specialize in self-borrowers. We're investors ourselves. We have rental property, so a lot of times self-employed borrowers want to buy investment properties, and we're able to share our experiences, what we have gone through with our renters, how we check credit, eviction checks, horror stories, all that. So I think that's why it makes us catch that type of clientele, a lot of self-employed borrowers. We can talk their language, explain things. So that's great news. Great
What,
news.
what kind of loans, Anna? What kind of loans will this pertain? FHA,
So,
conventional?
well, yeah, FHA, we didn't have to do that. FHA, we just had to check
Ah,
profit and loss and balance sheet so that we're okay there. But it was more conventional.
oh, in the conventional. Okay,
Yes, we
apply
had,
conventional.
and it was a headache because a lot of times we had people that were making $30,000 a month and they have more than enough income to qualify, but the bank statement showed otherwise. And so sometimes we had to wait and talk to the underwriter, go back and forth, and talk to the buyer. So even though everything was great, because of COVID, they said, well, maybe businesses are impacted by COVID. We need to make sure that the business are operating today. And we would have to go back 3 months and check every deposit.
Oh
So
my God.
it was tedious work, but as of last week, they removed that analysis. So we're back to pre-COVID times again.
Oh,
So
that is
that's
awesome.
yes,
Okay, so pre-COVID time on conventional loans.
for self-employment.
COVID time for
I
conventional.
also had a borrower call me today about houses that are situated in a big acreage or a big land.
We had a lot of those. A lot of people want land. Do you think it's because of distancing, social distancing?
Probably trying to get away from the city. I don't know if you see, but you drive and it's people everywhere. Everything crowded.
I was
Everybody's in a
surprised.
hurry.
What is it called now that now everybody felt like I was about to die, kind of, right? I mean, that's how I put it, the way I can understand it.
Mhm,
People felt like the world ended, right, when the
mhm,
COVID. And now I've noticed that everybody's making decisions a lot faster. And
mhm,
not only that, but they're doing everything that that they wanted to do, but in a hurry, like traveling or buying very expensive items,
mhm.
buying a house, selling the house and getting upgrading and getting the pool and the acreage that they wanted to. Have you
Yes,
noticed that?
yes, yes.
They're everywhere.
Yeah, everything. The
I mean,
stores are crowded.
great,
The
right?
roads are crowded. Everybody's in a hurry. So
But
maybe that's why people want to move out.
it
So
helps the economy, right? I mean, and it helps us because they're wanting to buy, they wanted to sell. I mean, which is
correct.
great, right?
Mhm.
The only thing is, I mean, what I don't know, I've noticed that it's like, it's a lot, right? It's like a lot. And I'm
Yes,
thinking,
yes. So the I guess there's an issue whenever you want to buy a small house in a lot of acreage. What happens when that happens? One, when we do the appraisal, the appraiser has to make sure that that house is similar. So if you have a 1,000 square feet home, but it's on 10 acres, the appraiser wants to see that that's typical for the area. The comparables that they will use need to be kind of similar. So that's an issue because sometimes there's no two houses alike.
I was just gonna say, or it's a very small home that has no value because it's been abandoned forever, and what they wanna buy is the 10 acres. I mean, I've had situations like that.
So
And
in that case, you need to buy the property as land. only, basically, because the land has no value. So
Mm.
those are things that I ask a question. If the house is nice and it meets the area, all of them are like that. All of them are log cabins, or it's typically it's really a house, then we can do the loan. But if it's a house that's falling apart, some of them don't even have kitchen. Some of them don't have living room. Is no bedroom. It's basically just a shell of four walls. So when that happens, then it's not considered a house. So we cannot lend you as residential. You have to buy it as land or investment property, and that's an issue. But it every house is different. You can buy a house that's a frame home, for example, on an acre, 2 acres, outside in the city, on the outskirts. That's fine because a lot of times you find those type of houses on the outskirts. So we always take every case on a one-to-one basis. Okay, what's a house? Let me look it up. Okay, yeah, it does look like a house. We can move forward. Or you know what? No, you have to go and buy it as land only.
Yeah.
But that's coming up. I had 3 scenarios ask me that in the last week or so. It was people wanting to buy big land. Yeah.
As there's a lot going on with the land, and we in this area, unfortunately, I don't know why, but I mean, usually the big acreage areas, they don't have a house that is, I mean, usually, of course, there's
Mhm.
exceptions, right? But I mean, usually it's a small home that doesn't compare to all of them, right?
Mhm.
It's how it is developing. I mean, the area, how we're growing, then we're catching up to those little houses that they used to be ranches in the
Yeah.
past, right? Or
Mhm.
they used to be inheritance land. And
Mhm.
then me, let's say my mother built a little frame home, and that's where she used to live. And then she passed away, and then she gave it to her kids, right? But basically, what we're noticing is that it's growing, so we're catching up to those ranches that now
Mhm.
they're closer to the city. Now people want to buy that land and they want to develop it into building their dream home.
Mhm.
So I just had one, I will say it was November, I think, November 2021 or por ahí, Diciembre, Noviembre. So then they were 10 acres on Bryan Road, excellent location, but they had a house that it was rented. I mean, but it was not in livable conditions, right? I mean, someone lived there for many, many years, but the
Mhm.
house was falling apart. So then we did kind of like what you just said, right? I mean, we advertised it as 10 acres land only. So I remember, I mean, for sale. So when they will call me for information, right? Investors, whatever, buyers, they could not believe the price of the land, right? They will be freaking out because they will see as, are you talking that's the price? I mean, the house. I mean, they were thinking that the little house was going to be very inexpensive, right?
Yeah.
And basically, what they were buying was the little house with
Mhm.
some land. So then I spent a lot more time explaining to them that we're not selling the house. The house is there. It's trash. You will have to remove it, right? Or we can make an arrangement or a negotiation with the owner. But we are selling the 10 acres. So that
Mhm.
an example, right? I don't remember what the price was, but an example is 10 acres worth $300,000. So then they will tell me, what? I mean, what do you mean that house is $300,000? But I mean, they wouldn't understand that we're not selling that.
Yeah.
So, so
The land is better used another way, maybe
exactly,
commercial. So
exactly.
that's why we can go residential. Yeah.
And the person, the new owner, the one who purchased it because he wanted to build the house of their dreams, right? I mean,
Mhm.
big house with a
Mhm.
pool, with a basketball court in the
Mhm.
back, da, da, da.
Mhm.
So then he had the means to remove the house. And not
Mhm.
only that, but I mean, his loan was a bank loan. And I believe, I mean, I would say half or more than half was cash. So
Yeah.
then, but they did ask me that question, the question
Yeah.
that you're telling me. I mean, are we selling the house when the appraisal? Is
Yeah.
that does this house have value? And then I said, no, 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 we're not. We never said the house had value. I mean, it's basically trash.
Yeah.
So it passed the loan, right?
Mhm.
Because the house was not accounted as value.
Yeah. They don't have to look at the condition of the house. They don't have to see that it's operating because you're not giving it value.
Exactly. No, because the owner, I mean, the new owner, he never went. I mean, he did walk the property, right? I mean, because he wanted to
The
see
land.
the land, the land. But he never went into the house. He never once
Mhm.
asked me, "I want to see the house." I mean,
He
not
had no intention of keeping it, I guess.
no, 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 no. He knew he was gonna get rid of it, right? So then he just wanted to see the perimeter,
Mhm.
right? The
Mhm.
area. and that's it. So then
Mhm.
there was a tenant left, and then he just removed the property completely.
Yeah, but that's a comment, a question that has come up, and I'm thinking that sometimes people are also thinking of investment. Sometimes land has very cheap taxes, so
Yeah.
maybe people are thinking, let me buy a big piece of land right now. I'm in my 20s or 30s. Let me buy it, and then maybe 10 years from now, it's gonna be worth double. So maybe they see it as an investment also.
Yes,
Um,
definitely they do. They do see it as an investment. Another good thing to talk about is the situation with the taxes and land, which we get a lot of questions about that. So basically, if you do have an acre, but I believe it all depends where it's located at, and it depends on the city as well. So make sure that when you buy acreage, make sure that you talk to the city, right? Because some cities do not allow animals.
mhm,
You know that on the acres, right?
mhm,
Some people think just because it's an acre, I'm gonna put a chicken, right? And I'm gonna get a tax break. Well, not necessarily, because some of them
mhm.
are cities, some of them are counties, some of them are. So then you have to go through the city to make sure what is the rule on having animals on those acres.
Yeah,
And a lot of people say, well, I'm just gonna put some, I don't know, a goat, I mean, out there. But a lot of times it's not allowed. So you
yeah,
end up paying taxes on the property.
correct. Yeah,
Yeah, that is something.
yeah.
Well, I mean, thank you so much for watching. It's already 30 minutes.
Oh my
We
goodness.
are giving free information, adding value to your life. If you need anything, I mean, you're planning to buy, you're planning to sell, or any free consultation, you know where to find us. This is Ana Cabrales, Ana Laura Cabrales with Cabrales Mortgage, and I'm Iris Heredia, broker owner with Momentum Realty. Anything real estate related, let us know, please. We're always happy to help you. Enjoy the week, and we see you next Monday. Oh, Valentine's next Monday.
Valentine's, that's right.
We're
We're
gonna
red.
do all red with hearts, and
Yes, let's do that.
okay, we'll do that. Okay, thank you so much, Anita, for being with
Thank you,
us.
Edie.
Thank you.
Thank
Bye.
you for the invitation. Take care.
Take care.